Why the lights might go out. Emerging threats to the US grid. Imagine it's a regular evening. You're at home, scrolling your phone, dinner in the oven, lights humming overhead, and then everything goes black. Not just your house, your entire street. Then the city, then the state. Within minutes, millions plunge into total darkness. No lights, no internet, no running water. The modern world paused by an invisible force. This isn't science fiction. This is a real possibility. And it's closer than most of us think. Transformers overheat, substations strain under demand. When the grid gets overwhelmed, it can buckle fast. But with complexity comes fragility. Today, that machine faces more threats than ever before. From extreme weather and cyberattacks, to aging infrastructure and skyrocketing demand, prolonged stretches of triple-digit temperatures ARNT, and the investments needed to repair or replace them. These aren't isolated incidents, they're warning signs. Air conditioning use surges. The aftermath can leave cities without electricity for days, even weeks. The US power grid, the vast network of power plants, transformers, wires, and control systems is one of the most complex machines on Earth. Much of America's power infrastructure is aging and falling apart. Large portions were built in the 1950s and 60s. Many components are now decades beyond their intended lifespan. State-sponsored hackers, organized criminal groups, even terrorist cells now see the grid as a high-value target. A well-executed cyberattack could shut down control systems, disrupt communication between utilities, or cause equipment to overload and fail in a domino effect. Decades behind. Let us break down the key vulnerabilities that could trigger a widespread blackout and how such a crisis would unfold. And while renewables are crucial for climate progress, they bring new challenges. And when the grid wobbles, the lights go out. And disruptions to fuel pipelines or rail deliveries, whether from weather, sabotage, or economic the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. Without large-scale energy storage or fast, flexible backup systems, sudden drops in generation can destabilize the entire grid. Rare, but real. A strategically placed explosive or a rifle shot to a substation's transformers can take down entire sections of the grid. What if the worst-case scenario unfolds? In 2013, an attack on the Metcalfe transmission substation in California caused millions in damage on it, was disturbingly precise. In 2015, a cyberattack took down portions of Ukraine's power grid. It was precise, coordinated, and devastating. Experts agree it could happen here, too. Electric vehicles, smart homes, data centers, heat pumps. Internet goes down. Cell towers run out of battery. Toilets stop flushing. Refrigerated food spoils. ATMs won't work. Credit card readers are dead. Without cash, many people are locked out of essential purchases. Sewage systems back up. Then you expand outward carefully, balancing supply and demand every step of the way. One mistake, and you trip everything again. Without digital communication, coordinating a response becomes exponentially harder. A backup battery, stored water, a few days of non-perishable food, flickering lights. People get desperate, and when communication is down and trust in institutions falters, civil unrest becomes a real possibility. Backup generators might keep the lights on for a while, but diesel fuel is finite. If roads are impassable, resupplying becomes a nightmare. Critical care, life support, refrigeration of medicine, it all hangs by a thread. Restarting a grid that's completely black is not like flipping a switch. It's called a black start, and it's slow, fragile, and complex. A flashlight, these small things could make all the difference in a crisis. The more we understand what's at stake, the better prepared we'll be when the lights start to flicker. A few brownouts here and there, maybe some unusual grid behavior. At first it seems manageable, but behind the scenes, the grid is struggling. We can invest in modernizing the grid, upgrading infrastructure, protecting against cyber threats, and creating smart, distributed energy systems. We can build more resilient communities with local microgrids, backup storage, and emergency response systems that work even when the grid doesn't. Subways stop, electric vehicle chargers become useless. Even gas stations can't pump fuel without electricity. All essential for a cleaner, modern future, but all dependent on reliable power, 24/7. But if the problem spreads too fast or too far, those defenses break down. Transformers destroyed, roads blocked, and because so many parts are irreplaceable or custom, it can take weeks or months to restore service if something fails catastrophically. The grid fractures into isolated islands of power, each fighting to stay balanced, but many won't succeed. In dry, windy conditions, utilities are sometimes forced to shut off power altogether to prevent sparks from their own equipment, igniting new blazes. These planned outages can still affect hundreds of thousands of people with little notice. First, the weather. It's getting more intense, more erratic, and more dangerous. Climate change isn't just about rising temperatures, and that volatility is pushing the grid to its limits. Take heat waves. Then come winter storms. Remember Texas in 2021? Ice storms knocked out natural gas lines and froze equipment, leaving millions without heat in sub-zero temperatures. Wildfires bring another layer of destruction. Especially in the West, wildfires can wipe out transmission lines, melt fiber cables, and destroy and we can't forget hurricanes and tornadoes. These storms tear through infrastructure like paper, power lines down. But even when the weather's calm, the grid is still vulnerable. One single failure in a critical piece like a large transformer can send ripples throughout the system. On top of physical threats, the grid now faces a growing danger in the digital realm. As our electrical systems become more digitized, they become more exposed. And these aren't theoretical threats. Then there's the shifting balance between electricity supply and demand. Demand is right. We're electrifying more of our lives than ever. At the same time, we're integrating more renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal. If a cloud bank rolls in over a major solar farm, or the wind dies over a wind corridor without enough reserve power to pick up the slack, the grid starts to wobble. Fuel supply issues can make things worse. Many power plants still rely on fossil fuels like natural gas or coal. There's also the growing risk of physical attacks on infrastructure. So what happens if all these vulnerabilities collide? Let's walk through how a blackout of that scale would actually happen. It starts small. Control centers detect abnormal frequencies. Voltage levels start to slip. Operators scramble to stabilize the system, routing power, triggering emergency generators, shutting down low priority zones. Transmission lines begin to trip offline. Generation plants start disconnecting to protect themselves from instability. Within minutes, 2 hours, entire regions could go dark. And then the real chaos begins. Phones stop working. Traffic grinds to a halt. Water systems begin to fail. No power means no pumps. No pumps means no pressure. Clean water stops flowing. Grocery stores sit dark, but it's not invincible. It demands care, investment, and foresight. Hospitals will struggle. And this is just the first 24 to 48 hours. Recovery is where things get even harder. You need specific plants that can operate without outside power to start bringing small pockets of the grid back online. Meanwhile, emergency services are stretched thin. Fuel is scarce. Transportation is crippled. Spare parts for damaged equipment may be thousands of miles away. Without clean water and sanitation, illness spreads. Without food deliveries, shelves stay empty. The longer the blackout lasts, the more fragile society becomes. And yet there is hope. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake us all up. Because we can prepare. And on an individual level, we can be ready. The power grid is the lifeline of modern civilization. The lights won't always stay on by themselves. So if you found this video insightful, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Stay safe, stay aware, and thanks for watching.